to you from Dawn on VOSTV. My name is Pearl Omori, and I'm in the studio today with another set of beautiful ladies. I think our guest is actually frequent. She has been here like a couple of weeks ago, and she's back again to discuss something relating to a field that she's very good at. And talking about no other person than Ame Ajayi, the executive director and founder of the Germain Foundation, the Germain Initiative, that deals with the youth training and mentoring. Are all about actually having a very, very responsible youth and the Nigerian society. And of course, I have the delectable Ebony Benahianafe. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning, Pearl.
I like the response. Good morning. I sure everybody having a good night.
Very well.
Okay, ladies. On today's show, we're discussing child right. So before I kick off with the topic, I have a very touching story to share with you. I saw it on social media and it's trending everywhere. Of a young guy a young boy actually, I think from the age of 7, 8 thereabout, was actually maltreated. This child was actually physically abused, assaulted. He had cuttings all over his body, was bleeding profusely, all because he stole a piece of meat from the pot. And this ill art was actually melted on him by the guardian or the parents he stays with. Although he's undergoing treatment now, but that is what gave birth to the story of child right. So I'll start with you, Benahi. What's your take on that?
Actually, when I saw the video, it was, I won't say touching because that would be an understatement. I was angry. I was really angry because the guy was battered. Rather, the child was really battered. You said he stole meat from your pot. That doesn't give you any right to beat that child in that manner. Like, if you are saying you want to scold the child, you want to discipline the child, there are measures to take. Not if you see the cause, like from head to toe, the boy was bleeding. The child could have died. Many persons have died from such terrible actions, but when I saw it, I could not even watch the video to the end because it was terrible. In fact, the child has rights, and you violated almost everything just by doing that gruesome action. Really, I was so angry that persons like that can still do such and they still exist and roam freely in our society today. So it was terrible. It just brings me to the fact that do we still have appropriate laws? These laws, are they being practiced? Are they being implemented to safeguard the rights of children in our society?
Wow, this is it's a very, very broad topic, and that video. Before I answer that question, that video was just a reflection of what our society is today, and it's painful. It's sad because we still have people that believe that they could cause bodily harm to some other person in the name of discipline. Really, discipline is not about causing bodily harm, but it's about actually trying to correct. So if you go and you look at this particular person, what is the intention of inflicting bodily harm on a child? It is definitely not for discipline. It is definitely not for correction. It is because you live in a society where you think you can get away by doing the unthinkable. But until we begin to hold these people accountable and ensure that these children get justice, then we will keep having things like this happen.
Exactly. I agree with you totally because I think after all, the guardian or the parents will say, it's my child. So I can do whatever I want to do with my child. And I give birth to this child, I nurture this child. But now the truth is, you have an agency that actually is against things like this. Now imagine this child. Is there even a Nigerian child? Let me give you a simple way. Nigerian child, do they even have rights or privileges? Because it's only those in the Western world we know have some benefits. But a Nigerian child, and the fact you were even giving birth to is a privilege.
Actually, the Nigerian child has his rights in place. There is an existing Child Rights Act. The Child Rights Act of 2003 was domesticated from the UN Convention by the Nigerian government. Now that law is in force. However, the different states have to domesticate that act within their states. Now, in Edo State, that act has been domesticated, and that's why we have the Child Right Law 2007 for Edo State. So as far as we are concerned, and as far as Edo State is concerned, that child will get justice if that child is from a if that happened in Edo State.
No, it didn't happen in the state.
Okay.
State,
Oh,
in the south.
okay. So what we are trying to say is there is a law actually in force. But ignorance of the law is not an excuse. So if someone or an NGO like ours takes up such a child, we will get justice because the law is clear on that level of excessive punishment. That has actually gone beyond punishment. That was intentionally causing bodily harm onto an individual. It was just on a whole new level. And such person should be brought to book. For if you look at the child rights law, for cases as minor as markings on the body, tattoos on the body, you can actually go to jail for it. On the body of a child. I'm telling you, rights as basic as that. So you can imagine what the law provides for that level of punishment on a child. If the law says do not put a body mark on a child, if you do that, you can go to jail.
I think there was the belief system coming here, like the child was sick. I know there was some person that was sick, and mark them on their stomach and stuff like that.
No, now the child right law is against it. So imagine if it caters to issues as less dangerous than what was meted out, yes, in that video. So everything is covered in the child rights law. In the child rights law for Edo State. It's ignorance of the law will make people see that kind of thing and not get to the bottom of it. You will get justice. That person will definitely be brought to book by the law. But the truth is someone has to do something before that will happen.
Someone has to take the bold step.
Exactly.
Okay, ma'am, you said a lot of things. Like you have in Western countries, we have social services where maybe something happens to a child, the child has been molested. You see persons pick up their phones to call this agency and be like, okay, so and so thing happened in this area. So here in Nigeria, is there a swift response action to tackle this problem we're facing? That can anybody just pick up a phone to just call like this thing is happening in my neighborhood? We need
Like already have the 911.
exactly, because we have this mantra: if you see something, say something. So by persons that want to get involved in tackling this issue, this problem, this menace, is there something like that here in Nigeria?
What I think we lack is information. Yes. Or should I say the right information? Because there are actually agencies and bodies that handle these issues. Child right issues, we have the Ministry of Gender, or what was formerly known as Women Affairs, Ministry of Gender and Social Development. We have the Ministry of Justice. There's a department that looks at citizens' rights. We also have, that's in Edo State. And then even the police, they have a unit that handles child rights issues. So, but when you don't have that information, when you do not know, you think, oh, you are on your own. No, actually, there are agencies, and that is their duty. Their duty. When we interface with a lot of these agencies, so we get to, because of the work we do, we get to know that okay, there's actually room to get justice. But most persons we just sit. The Nigerian just sits in the house and says, oh, now they are picking, so to speak.
Yeah.
Let them deal with their child the way they deem fit.
She wants to groom her child her own way.
No, but the law is against it. If once the person is contravening the law, it behoves of us as individuals, as responsible Nigerians, to do the needful.
Yeah, that comes about the old adage that says no one person won't begin a community to change.
Exactly.
So it's the society that actually trains the child. It's just the family being the smallest unit that actually produce that child. does not really mean you have the child is bound, everything must come from you. Yes, having good morals from the family to start from there, I agree with that. But the way most parents go about it, or guardians go about it, is very, very wrong. But now this brings me to child abuse. I think I grew up and I'm still seeing these few things: child marriage, street trading, this manual labor.
Yes.
You know, it has been on. Yeah, we have these agencies. How do you guys work on actually reducing it to a minimum? The street trading is not something like they'll even give birth on the street, and their children will just, it's more like a business to them.
Well, I see it happen a lot around us, and child labor is also against the law,
Okay.
and you can actually go to jail for putting up a child through that process. We have had children that ought to have been in school
Exactly.
but are on the streets trading. It is against the law. But the truth is, like I said earlier, we need to do something about that. As a body, we do a lot of enlightenment, empowerment, training, and teaching. The essence of this is to let the child know their rights and give them a platform that will expose them to information at an early age that gives them an edge in society. Now, if you know that, oh, access to education is actually your right, you can actually cry for help. If you know that you shouldn't be at home during school, as for example, then you can probably cry out to those agencies and those government parastatals that are in charge of that. We have NGOs that actually are interested in the development of the child. There's no excuse. We have the media. The media is doing their bit, thank God. But we need to do our bit. We need to make these things known to these agencies. If you do not make the move, you will not know that you can actually rescue someone. There was a girl some time ago that we had to rescue in that manner, that had some issues and was sent away from home. Thankfully, thankfully that issue was resolved because it was brought to our knowledge, and we quickly rallied around and got the necessary agencies involved, and that was quickly sorted out. But if no one had reached out to us at that point, probably the girl would still be in the street. So that's when it comes to not moving or not doing anything and assuming that it's going to take care of itself. We need to take the necessary steps. We need to get the necessary information and make sure that we do something to, mitigate the plight of the child in our society today.
Yes, I think this child abuse, everything still boils down to this poverty.
Of course.
Your poverty is one of the roots, and the agencies, you're all doing a very wonderful job trying to curb these menace in the society. But unemployment, some families, either the father lost the job or one of the things, the children have to now hustle for their own living because of just the way the society actually put us in. Oma, what are the ways we're actually going to curb this menace? Yes, the agencies are doing a good job, but this thing has to really go down because this child abuse is something that has been on. Some of them have been sexually abused. I think at the time it was on the eye. It was on the highway, like everybody was just the female child. Now you just have to hide your female child. I remember when I was growing up in my area, there was a child, the mom, they just came back from abroad, and she was just all trying to get used to the children in the area, and she was sexually abused because she was just trying to get used to them. And I think the mom found that a few weeks later when she was trying to bathe the child, and she was kind of making some, the kind of sounds and like, Mom, I don't want you to touch this, I feel pain here. And she was like, where did you get that from? And she said it's a young guy that actually lured them into his room with a bottle of drink, a beverage. You see? So now, how do we actually curb this menace? Because something has to be done to put this thing on the low. Because this woman just did this now. I think 2 weeks it will blow away. Another person will do worse. Now we have ritual on the rampant. And these children are on the receiving end too.
Of course. Well, I think we do not have to keep quiet. We have to keep talking. We have to keep talking and we have to keep talking. Yes, there's a law. Yes, it is domesticated here. But truthfully, we need to start to work to ensure that these persons, perpetrators of these heinous crimes, are brought to book. Because for everyone that goes scot-free, someone else relaxes and says, oh, I can get away with it. But if people are brought to book for this kind of crimes, if people are brought to book, you will see that that will serve as a deterrent to others that had the intention. Why is it that the Nigerians that go abroad, for example, are able to stick to the rules and do not try to flog or beat or manhandle their children? Because there are laws and there are systems that are in place that ensure that if you do that, you actually face the consequences. So for as long as people do not face the consequences of their actions, others will feel they can get away with it. To met out this level of brutality on an innocent child.
You spoke about consciousness. We have Nigerians. You said when they travel out, there is this consciousness because of the laws being put in place.
And they are held strictly to it.
Exactly. Mom, don't you think the government here in Nigeria, you see, we have children roaming, we have children hawking, children selling, we have persons begging. You just see children of 2 years, 3 years, 1 year olds. You see them on the street with their mothers and everything. Don't you think there should be this? Not really. I'm not talking about law. Like the government should go about picking these persons up, like, okay, you ought to be in school, while taking you to school, you ought to do this, like
Education is your right.
Yes, it's their right. So don't you think the government ought to like do these things to eradicate persons from the street and take these children to school?
I agree. The role of the government is to ensure, primarily to ensure the security and the safety of its residents. Now we have a lot of children on the streets, and yes, it is the responsibility of government to take them out of the streets.
Okay.
It is the responsibility of government to take them out of the streets. And we expect that any right-thinking government, like the one we have in place now, will do the needful to make sure that these people are taken off the streets. They are a danger to themselves and eventually a danger to society.
Yes. I think they even have an association, or the Lema Association, something like that.
Really?
Yes, they do. On the streets now, because most of them are actually homeless too.
Yes, so government can make provision for them, can probably create halfway houses, house
Okay.
them.
Okay.
If they need to be transported, if they're not from the state, if they need to be transported to their states, arrange for that to happen and ensure that they are properly integrated back into their societies instead of roaming the streets and eventually being a menace to society.
Okay. Right now, because we have to wrap up the show, and we said a lot. Thank you so much. Are there final words you have to give persons watching this?
My final words are to those persons out there. I want to say that you have your role to play in fighting against violence against children. You have your role to play. If you see, you speak, and you ensure that these children get the justice that they deserve. This society is counting on you. Don't fail.
Thank you so much. Remember, the society is counting on you. No violence against children is acceptable. Stop the violence. And if you see something, say something. You don't have to be the person maltreating a child. You viewing this, you see this, if you see something, report to the appropriate agency, report to the police station, like do something. Don't just stay cold or stay on the fence. You've been listening, you've joined in the conversation. Please just leave a comment. You've had experiences, you've heard a lot, you've seen a lot. Just say something. Other persons are going to learn from what you have to say. And please ensure you follow us across our social media platforms. On YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, we have VOSTV Nigeria. And until we come your way again,
Please, every child has a right, and please allow them to enjoy it. Thank you for watching.